My name is Steve Leach and I'm Head of Service Management for Cloud Gateway. My role is very much about putting in an organisation to support our customers in the new operating environment we have within cloud computing. My background was much more traditional ITIL in telecoms and traditional service management role, where things like incident management, capacity and availability were the absolute core of everything you did. But one of the reasons why this role suits me and I'm enjoying it so much is I've come from the previous background. I've moved into a new environment and working for a startup with a bunch of quite dynamic and exciting people. So every day is different. And then when I was actually appointed to the role, I started to think about what sort of service management organisation do we need in place. And at that point, the ITIL refresh hadn't started. And to me, ITIL was, well, literally it was 8 years out of date. And I thought, well, this isn't good enough. So by a bit of luck, let's say, I stumbled upon Claire and Verism, and I started to realise what Verism offered and created the service management principles and the management mesh. And I realised that Verism was exactly what we want. So what I'm doing now is, as well as being an evangelist for Verism and helping with the books and helping move it forward, I'm actually practicing what I preach. And we've embedded service management principles. We've got a management mesh. We've got a flexible, dynamic way of working. And basically, Verism, where we are in Cloud Gateway, and me and my background, it's in many ways a perfect match, and it suits us perfectly. So from a service management perspective, now we're in the cloud computing environment, there's various expressions. There's private cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. What's become quite apparent to me over the year or so I've been doing this job is that the old world has changed. So what needs to change from a service management perspective is actually the things that I always felt very safe and happy about, incident management, capacity and availability, are actually different. I think the world has moved on. The way Cloud Gateway has been built upon a number of products that are basically so secure and reliable, you start to have to sit back and think, well, what does a P1 incident look like? Do our customers care about availability? Well, actually they do, but what we've actually included in our service management principles, which the two guys in here helped me write, is that we say to our customers, capacity and availability are a given. So, Mr. Customer, come with us. You do not need to worry about capacity and availability. There's so much of it out there. We will buy it and flex it up or down as your demands require. So straight away, we're in a role where I was used to producing a monthly service report where the actual percentage of SLA you'd achieved and the amount of downtime and unavailability was absolutely sacred, was what the customer wanted to see. It's actually a different world now. Capacity and availability are very important, but let's say they're less important than information security and connectivity. So what we have to recognize in service management is that things are moving very fast. The old rules, some of them are actually regularly being broken. I've even got a comment I'll make in one of the other questions about the role of incident management. But what's become clear to me is as we move into the world of cloud computing, as things change, somebody like me, a bit of old-fashioned, bit of a dinosaur, I've got to try and keep up to speed with what these other guys are doing. And I've got to try and put in a service management organization behind them that's dynamic, that reflects what they want to do and what our customers want. So in summary, I think that service management has to move with the times. It has to recognize that producing a monthly report that shows you SLAs are all green, you know, the old joke about the watermelon SLA, it was green on the outside but red on the inside. Those days have gone. We've got to be more dynamic. We've got to produce information that our customers want, that our customers understand, and we can focus on changes, on requests, on security more than we have to, because capacity and availability are things we almost don't have to worry about. Not completely, but almost. So that's how I think, that's the major change I've noticed in my service management role in the year I've been doing this job. The support provided by IT to our customers today when they are using cloud storage and when we are actually providing connectivity to them is different than it was in traditional IT support environments. As I said earlier, the capacity and availability issues are there, but are much more manageable, and we can push them aside. We can let the cloud provider manage them because there's a contract we have in place with them and they'll be doing that for us. So what we have to have sitting behind the service desk, traditional incident change, request fulfillment and problem management processes are technicians who understand clouds. As second and third line specialists, they need to actually get on top of an incident or a change much more quickly in the old days. That's why some of the service level agreements we have with our customers, we've upped the traditional best practice for priority one from 4 hours up to 2, because that reflects the importance our customers see in the data that they're actually storing. So the way it's affected it is we can push capacity and availability almost to one side because we are buying that through the contract from our various cloud providers. But what we've got to understand is the impact that has on storage, on data connectivity, and on security. So information security is much more at the fore now. You've only got to go on LinkedIn or the news. Every day there's some real or perceived security threat, and cloud will be mentioned, and our customers are aware, and in some cases worried about this. So how it's actually changed, in my view, is we need to focus much, much more on the security of our products and of our customers' data, and storing it securely and delivering it to where it needs to be quickly. So I think information security is now the #1 support process we need to think about in terms of service management as we move to the cloud, and it's more important than it used to be. The Verizon management mesh is a multi-dimensional matrix of things that C-level representatives need to think about when they're setting up, managing, and progressing their organization. Now, as an emerging technology, again, I'm not the most technical on this, but that doesn't matter for the terms of my role and where we sit here. So the management mesh is something that the example I've managed to create for Cloud Gateway has been used by the IFDC in a number of webinars. So I'd like to explain to you how it features in our management mesh, and then how it might feature in the customer's management mesh. So in our management mesh, it's at the absolute core of everything we do. Cloud computing is the world we're in, it's the business we're in, it's what our product does. So everything we do needs to be considered against the cloud and against the latest technologies, against the various providers. So it's absolutely at the core of what we do. But for our customers, it's one of a number of technologies and a number of management techniques and a number of challenges that they have. So organizations need to understand that one particular cloud provider, one particular strategy might not be the silver bullet to solve all their problems. They might need to have combinations of cloud providers, of hybrid products. So where it's positioned within a company who has got a maturing management mesh, they need to consider their strategic decision, what they're doing for their customers and end users, against the number of factors of which the cloud is one. So it's absolutely vital that it is in their mesh, that whenever they're taking a decision, they analyze that decision against current cloud technology, information, and the various suppliers. But it's one of many decisions that organizations have to take. Whereas in Cloud Gateway, it's absolutely at the core of everything we do. So the management mesh, again, each organization's got to make sure that their management mesh, it must never sit still. It must mature. I mean, the E of Verizon is evolving. If you don't evolve, if you have the same management mesh for 12 months, I would argue you're not evolving, that you're defeating the whole point of Verizon. So your management mesh must evolve as business evolves, as technology evolves, and as an organization and as its customer base. The mesh evolves with them to continually give them a tool to do what they need to. Migrating to private or public cloud brings a number of challenges for any organizations, but one of the advantages that particularly moving to something like a public cloud will bring is an organization can actually focus less on infrastructure, less on security, less on firewalls and such like, and they can concentrate on their core business, which could be selling insurance or selling airplanes or whatever it is. They can therefore outsource that to the cloud providers. Now, the organizations must recognize there's a number of different ways of doing this, all of which will potentially drive cost benefits into their business, but may well increase the real or perceived security threats. So it's vital that organizations understand the pros and cons, do a proper cost benefit analysis, using the various tools such as the management mesh. each time they take a decision about new technology and about new customers, because the cloud's not going to go away. It will mature, it will transform, it will mutate into numbers of different things, I'm sure, over the years. And the key is to keep an understanding of what's out there, of how it's working, of how it's going to benefit your business. And obviously, from someone like my perspective, how I then need to keep the service management organization in step and constantly evolving as well. If someone's about to go on the Cloud Computing Foundation course, now, first of all, let me say that I don't know about a Cloud Computing Foundation course. I'm sure there are many, many courses out there. But a few years ago, for one of my previous employers, we were all aware, that the cloud was being mentioned all over the place. I was the solution architect at the time. I used my initiative and I took myself to CQA, and I sat on a one-day cloud overview with a guy I used to train with. So I knew him, he knew me. I knew he was a guy who could explain it down in layman's terms. And I found the whole concept fascinating, exciting, and very interesting. So if someone's about to take a Cloud Computing Foundation course, first of all, make sure the course is right. If they are an extremely competent technician, engineer, a technical expert, they will possibly not even benefit from the foundation course at cloud level because it would be too basic for them. So you've got to make sure like in any training course, you've got to make sure the right people go on the right course and it is right for them. So if somebody's going on a foundation course, I would say to them, first of all, make sure that you know this is the right course for you. Make sure this is going to benefit you as an individual, and make sure that you know what the outcome is going to be and how it's going to benefit your organization. Then come back with that knowledge and try and impart some of that knowledge into how you do your job and change the way you things you do based on that knowledge. So for a particular organization, obviously, if you've got a long-term strategic training plan, there'll be all sorts of management courses, foundation courses, cloud courses, service management courses. Make sure that the organization has a provider that can actually do the right courses for them. Make sure the course is right for this individual. Go online, do your research, look at the course syllabus, look at what happens at the end of day 1, day 2, and 3. Look what's expected of you and what the prerequisites are. Don't go on the course discovering that a one-day overview was the prerequisite and you spend the first day trying to catch up with what other people already know. So make sure you do your research. Make sure the course is right for you. Make sure you know what the outcomes are going to be, and make sure it fits in with everything else. So the technicians and the managers going on the Cloud Computing Foundation course would nicely complement me sending my staff in Cloud Gateway on like the Verizon Foundation course.